it's interesting you say that. When I moved to Colombia, and we wanted to become members of the Jewish community. At this point, I was pregnant with my first child, and my husband was born in Cali, was bar mitzvahed in the synagogue. His parents were founding members of the community, his grandparents. That when we said we want to become members, they said, Heidi, you need to show us your parents' ketubah. I said, well, what about my ketubah? They said, no, we need to see your parents' ketubah. At this point, I was like, okay, well, I'll figure out what to do. But they made it, I had to prove my own Jewish roots to become a member of that community. And I think there's probably lots of reasons. I don't even, there's plenty of reasons why that I can't even go into them all. I think there's a lot of skepticism, allowing someone into the community who, if they don't know their background, where they're coming from, just because of, the Jewish anti-Semitism, the violence of Colombia, many of those reasons. One of the reasons I believe that the traditional communities are closed to these converts. And I do want to say there's a lot of intermarriage in Colombia within the Jewish communities. And sometimes these people, the people that have converted are welcomed into the communities, depending on the conversion they've done. If they have done a conversion that's not accepted, then they're not accepted into the communities. So I think one of the reasons as well is that they're not welcoming to these emerging communities is because the individuals that are converting are coming from very different backgrounds than the traditional Jewish people. And when I say traditional Jewish people, like somebody who was born Jewish, they maybe have a strong Jewish identity, but are not very religious. And when we are looking at the converts, the emerging Jews, they are extremely religious, and they're coming from a very different background. And I think there's a lot of fear within the Jewish community that these new members, or if they became new members, would possibly change the narrative of what it means to be Jewish. What does it mean for them to be Jewish? And what is their history? What is their story? Where are they coming from? And these people are believers. They believe in the word of God. They're living their life by the Torah, and they really believe it. Whereas the rest of, the traditional members of the community, they go to synagogue because it's the tradition. They light their Shabbos candles because it's the tradition. They have their dinner because it's the tradition. But what they're not doing is they are not, doing fasting on all the major holidays. They are not, following the book of the Torah, to the T. There's room for interpretation, and there's room for expression, and all those other wonderful things.